Welcome to the MIT Leadership Center video series. My name is Hal Gregersen, and I am the Executive Director of the MIT Leadership Center. Today we're excited to have Nandan Nilekani with us. He is the co-founder of Infosys, and he is an author of Imagining India. Nandan, glad to be with you today.
Thank you, Hal. Thanks for having me.
One of the pieces, I think, of building a great institution is actually, as a leader, as you are and have been in different big institutional projects, is as a leader asking a different question that then drives you down a very different path. Has that been part of the process for you of asking different questions in order to, number one, get the big dream,
Sure.
and then to continue searching, hunting, trying to find the right questions to be able to actually make it happen? So I guess the question is, what role has asking questions played in your work?
Oh, that's
as
a big
leader?
part of it, because when you're building an institution, you're consciously building something that will be beyond you, and it'll exist beyond you, it'll grow beyond you, it'll sustain itself beyond you, and therefore at everything that you do, you look at how to make it sustainable. How do you make sure that it continues with a new set of leaders, it continues to perform? So it's about creating that culture and values that persist, because that's the psychic glue which holds it all together. It's about attracting great talent. It's about mentoring them so they become leaders of the future. It's about providing thought leadership. It's always about thinking, what next can we do to make this a sustainable institutional institution which outlives its founders.
Do you do anything, or do you go out of your way to create an environment around you where people who are closest to you, be it the government authority in India or when you were CEO of Infosys, creating that environment around you where people can come to you with their questions that might cause you to be uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think I would generally try to create a culture where it's very candid. It's a very open door culture where people walk in. There's no hierarchy. Anybody can walk in. It's flat, and people can ask the most difficult questions, the most uncomfortable questions, and can confront. Can be confrontational if they wish. Because I think in today's world, it's moving so fast that you have to reduce misunderstanding in your organization. You have to make sure everybody is aligned to the same goals, and everybody is highly motivated, and nobody's feeling that they're being disturbed in any way. So it's very, very important to keep these channels very, very open. Absolutely, that's been my belief.
Are there situations that you find yourself in, again, either in government or running Infosys, where those situations were helpful in you getting information that otherwise would just not get to you?
Yes, I mean, as my colleague and our founder chairman Narayana Murthy said, the bad news should come up in the elevator and the good news should walk up. And so the bad news should come faster to you. So I think and I have had situations where, because I didn't have that channel of information, things have gone wrong. So I now consciously go out of my way, not only to create a open culture for people to discuss, also having my lines of communication to a very wide set of people, because the bad news may not come straight; it may come from some other source. So I think that's an important thing, because you're right. If you're a leader, you can put yourself in a cocoon, and a good news cocoon, and everybody's saying, "Oh, everything's fine, no problem," and then one day something goes wrong.
Did you find doing that easier, harder, or about the same when you move from a business context to a government context?
Well, actually, in some sense, it became easier in the government, partly because I found that people in the government system were far more hierarchical, and therefore they tended to rely on the vertical flow of information. And they didn't really have relationships with people who were very junior, or they didn't go reach out to other people to find out things. So I actually found that, because I had learned that in my private sector life, when I brought in that skill, or whatever you want to call it, of reaching out to everyone.
Right.
I found that I just knew a hell of a lot more than anybody else. So that enabled me to do my job better. The other thing which I think is very useful is both in my government job as well as in Infosys, I spent a lot of time with customers. In the government, it's not customers, but people who use what you're doing. And I think that's a huge way to filter out the spin that somebody could put on something, because there's nothing to substitute a customer telling you that there's a problem. I mean, and I've had many situations where customers had a direct line to me and would call up about something, and I would know about a problem even before a lot of other people. So I think that's important to be that lightning rod which attracts feedback, both good and bad.
You said a word that I find interesting, especially as a senior leader, patience.
Yeah.
Has that been important in your world?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how so?
Well, I realized at somewhere along in my business life that life was not about being busy. It was about being effective. And I think sometimes what happens to us is that we think busyness is it. The busier we are, the more sort of effective we are. We are not. We're busy thrashing around. And today in this communication intensive world, you can be busy all the time. You can be sending emails or tweets or whatever it is. And you can console yourself that you're so busy that, that's great. But I think it's really about being less busy. It's about identifying what's important to you. It's about eliminating what's not important to you. It's about creating time to reflect. And recently I was reading that the whole science, cognitive science, neuroscience is actually saying that some of your best ideas come when your brain is idling. So I said, this sounds good to me. This sort of confirms what I was thinking all along. So I think it's important to focus on a few big things and focus on them relentlessly, but otherwise leave enough space not to be too busy.
If you were to think of your life as a leader, and you were to define that as a question, like, this is the question that I live throughout my work as a leader, or this is the question I most care about in my work as a leader, does anything come to mind in response to that?
Given that I've been extraordinarily lucky in my life in terms of business success and all that, is what is it, given my unique position and my capabilities, what is it that I can do to have the best possible impact on the most possible people?
Wow.
That's what I keep thinking all the time.
Thank you for joining us on this MIT Leadership Center video series. It's been a great moment. Thank you.